CFR Network, CFR Sports. Good day, good night, all. Welcome back. A special guest, many thousands of miles away from this little rock we call the United Kingdom. I welcome Nicolas Atkin,
That is it.
reporter extraordinaire. First discovered Nick through my journey with one championship, and I thought can hear an English accent here doing these interviews and stuff, and some of the media scrums we've done via Zoom. I heard you on there, and I thought, there we go. It's nice to hear someone who's local covering this, this new interesting combat sports promotion. So, Nicholas, thank you very much for carving out some time in your busy schedule. Welcome to the broadcast. How art thou?
No, of course. Thanks for having me. And I remember hearing you on those Zoom calls, so it's good to put a face to the voice as well. And thanks for having me. I appreciate the time. I'm doing well. It's sunny. I'm just looking out the window. We've had about 4 days of nonstop rain, so I'm happy to not to say rush to this interview and run outside, but it's cheering me up and it's going to make me smile during this. And yeah, it's great to chat. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. And I think I can bet you on that. We've had nothing but rain for the whole of this year, sir. And the last,
Typical
I'd say,
UK, right?
yes. No, it's not even typical. It's worse this time, Nick.
Oh God.
Absolutely, it's terrible. The weather, they say British people always talk about weather. We've got a very good reason at the moment. It's just dull. We're in
Well, there's a
so-called.
reason I left, yeah. And
Well,
I
I can imagine.
well, I was back in February and it was miserable. I
Yeah,
remember it was
yeah.
incredibly miserable. Luckily only there for 10 days, but it was
Well, you got a
grey,
snapshot.
raining the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I feel for you guys.
Hence, we us Brits have to take as many vacations as possible to sunnier climes.
Yeah, well, come out to Hong Kong. It's not always raining. It does rain a lot in there in the summer, but it's kind of peaks of rain and then you get all this
Yeah.
beautiful sunshine. But it is pretty hot as well, so maybe too hot. That's the biggest thing to adjust to.
Mm,
But I prefer it. Who doesn't like to just see blue skies, no clouds,
exactly.
right? It makes you
Yeah.
feel
It
happier,
does. It
especially when
really
you're working.
does. Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was out in the car going to an appointment and the sun was just hitting me. I felt just warm in the vehicle. I looked down at
That's it. Yeah.
the temperature controls and everything's on low rather than on 24 degrees because it's cold. I'm like, yeah, excellent. We're kind of getting there. You're meeting people. People are smiling now. Oh, they've got a bit more bounce to their step. So it's wonderful to have, normal seasonal weather and some brightness once in a while, definitely.
I must be one of the only people though that misses. I sometimes I feel guilty for I just miss a bit of British winter sometimes. I don't know why I do it to myself, but because
Hmm.
I've been out here for over 7 years now and we don't really get that
Yeah.
awful uh I guess there's not seasons here. It's just
Mm,
hot. It's hot
yeah.
for 9 months of the year, then a little bit cold, chilly. I
So,
miss that structure you have there with the spring, summer,
but
autumn, winter.
Nick, you're kind of almost romanticizing it of sorts because
I
way back
am,
in the
yeah.
day we had proper seasons. Now it's kind of a mixture
Yeah.
between an
Yeah.
autumny winter, a long period with interdispersed with,
Unpredictable.
yes, very unpredictable,
And
very.
some crazy heat waves, right? Nowadays.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
That was. It was very
Oh,
unbearable indoors, but that was something 40 odd
but
degrees.
that
That
sucks
was
because you don't have aircon, right?
no.
And I remember at night it's just impossible to sleep.
Mm. Windows open, bowls of
Yeah, windows
water.
open. Yeah. I don't know how I did it back then. Because here, if it's slightly hot and I've got like one bead of sweat, I'm whacking
There we
that
go.
aircon on, in March. It's oh,
Definitely, definitely. So your journey, where did it all start with the love of combat sports, and how did it
oh,
take you all the way over there, sir?
it's a longish story. I think I'll try and keep it short as possible. My first real job. I
Well,
would say real job.
Nick, sorry,
Yeah.
before you start, where in the UK did you grow up?
I grew up in South London, near. Greenwich,
Okay.
Blackheath, Lewisham, kind of in the middle of all three. I I prefer to say Greenwich because I like it a lot more than Lewisham. Uh,
It's got a bit of
yeah,
ring to it, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's if you take people, if you know, to come to visit you, I'd rather take them down to Greenwich Market than
Indeed,
Lewisham
Lewisham.
High Street. But yeah,
Indeed, yes.
but yeah, I grew up there for about 29 years. I lived mostly there for my life before moving out to Hong Kong in 2017 January. So yeah, it's just gone 7 years, and I've
Wow.
just officially become a permanent resident of
I
Hong Kong
saw
after
the
seven
little,
years.
yes, I saw it.
Yeah, yeah, I put it on Twitter. I was very proud. Yeah.
Excellent. Congratulations for that. So,
Yeah, thanks.
29 years in the UK, and then in 2017 we say, "See you later, family and friends. I'm gonna go thousands of miles away, uh, to eke out a new life for myself." That must have been, that's a
Yeah,
huge step.
it was it was a bit crazy, and yeah, looking back, I still don't know how I had the courage to do it, but I think something deep down inside of me needed to go, having been in London my whole life,
Yeah.
and not just really talking about living wise. Just I'd rarely even traveled and seen the world, maybe other than France and Spain, sort of
Okay.
family holidays. And what really changed my whole outlook on life was in 2015, I went to the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens tournament, which you may know, but if not, it's just like a 3 day
Yeah.
piss up. Everyone gets
Indeed.
hammered,
Yep.
and people fly from all over the world for it. It's great fun, and I actually have a brother who lives here as well, and I'd never been to visit him. So I decided one of my friends was really keen to go to the Sevens, and
Mm,
we had another mutual friend who lived in Japan, in Tokyo, who we hadn't visited either from school.
hmm
So we thought, let's go to Japan and we'll go to Hong Kong, do a double trip.
Wow.
And then I also had a brother living in Singapore at the time, so I went to see him for the first time in Singapore. So it was just a
Brothers
great.
are older or younger than yourself?
Oh, yeah, older. So
Okay.
it was just 3 weeks of great fun and opened my eyes to a whole world out there I'd never
Yeah.
thought of or known existed. And
Mm.
when I came back, I just thought, oh my God, that was incredible. And
This episode is sponsored by Supreme of the UK. Click the link in the description and support the broadcast.
I, yeah, maybe I'm kind of spinning my wheels here a bit. I'm stuck. And
Mm.
I asked my brother, yeah, he knew some people at SCMP, the South China Morning Post. So he put in a word for me, connected me with the sports editor, and then spoke to him, and he said, "We haven't really got anything at the moment, but I'll get back to you if we ever do." And about a year and a half later, the email came out of the blue. So yeah, if, are you still interested?
Wow.
Um, I've got a job for you. And I said, well, I'm actually going to be in Hong Kong next week for my brother's wedding, so let's have a coffee. And we did. And 3 months later, I packed up very suddenly, moved across the world, starting an adventure I
Mm.
had no idea I needed or wanted. And it wasn't as if I wasn't enjoying my job at the time. I was working at ESPN, which is obviously a very big sports
Indeed.
network, yes, and I was doing some great things there. But yeah, I don't know what, sometimes I don't know why I did it, but I think it's all worked out.
Oh yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. So the ESPN work, um, that was combat sports as well?
Well, I I started as I was just a generic desk editor, and
Hmm
I felt I was lucky to get that job because they picked me up. I'd been unemployed for a few months. I got made redundant from my first job in a sports press agency after a year, and then I was just sitting at home playing video games for 4 or 5 months, thinking I'll never get another job. I got turned
God,
down for a few things, and then this one
yeah,
just kind of came out of the blue. I applied for it, didn't think I'd get it, and then I think luck played its part. They seemed to be having a lot of turnover at the time, and
yeah.
were desperately needing numbers. And I, yeah, just got the shot and then didn't look back.
Where was you based then
And
for this ESPN
that
role?
was in the UK in the Disney building in Hammersmith.
Ah,
So long commute every day. Yeah, hour and a half each way or something like that.
Ooh.
Which or at least an hour, yeah. But something that Hong Kong is vastly better at. You can walk to the office, or I don't even have an office anymore. So my office is my this room
Yes.
here. But yeah, it was ESPN was great, and I kind of gravitated towards tennis at first because my dad was a tennis writer, so guess it was in my blood,
Mm.
and then ended up going to the US Open, and
Wow.
a strange nugget of information is my godfather is Arthur Ashe, who obviously the main stadium there is named after him. My father used to,
Wow.
yeah, he would ghostwrite his columns at Wimbledon. So then after that tournament, I went to the ESPN office in Connecticut, which is a 2 hour drive up from New York.
Yes.
Bumped into the combat sports media team there, who kind of cover at the time Brian Campbell, who's
Yeah,
Morning Combat,
Brian.
you all know, he was there,
Yeah.
and we chatted a little bit over certain things, and
So was
yeah,
your
kind of
interest, did you have an interest of sorts in combat sports at this time, or was it?
yeah, I had never known it or liked it. I'd grown up as a lifelong fan of wrestling, WWF, and then
Yes,
WWE,
me too.
and
Hmm.
of course and MMA seemed really vulgar to me, and
Yeah.
I was a bit stuffy towards it. I like the occasional boxing match, big fight. I would
Yeah.
buy a pay-per-view for like a big UK, like the guys Anthony
Joshua.
Joshua or like
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis back in the day, and Prince
Indeed.
Nassim, and then
Yes. You're going back now. Yes, indeed, sir.
Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury, all those guys.
Mm,
Ricky Hatton.
yeah. Nigel
Who's
Benn,
the
Eubanks.
yeah, the Nottingham guy. I forget his name. Who he was? They fought at Wembley. George Groves and Carl Froch. Yeah,
Yes.
remember that. So yeah, I like boxing as well. And then we covered a bit of that at ESPN, the boxing,
Hmm.
and then but part of my early job was to bring over content from the American website to the UK website that I thought would do well. And
Yeah.
I noticed quite early on that UFC content did really well.
Mm,
So I grabbed all the UFC stuff from .com, brought it over to .uk in our
yes.
system. It's a little bit more manual back then. They have a new fancy integrated system where it's all automatic with content sharing across their various zones.
So,
They have in the world, but back then you had to
yes.
like actually copy and paste
Copy
shit
and
and
paste, edit. Yes.
yeah,
Old
add your
school.
own. Yeah, but yeah, the I would just see the stories would go crazy on the charts, and I when you have to edit stuff, you have to read it. So I kind of
Mm,
took an interest in it. And then I think I started watching some of the shows because we all had our own little TVs at our desks. It was
ah.
fun office. And there'd be some late nights, where I'd be on my own on the late shift, maybe one other person for the ESPN
Hmm.
FC, the football crew behind me. And I just remember something sticking out in my mind seeing, I think it was McGregor versus Chad Mendes for the interim belt.
Oh, oh yes.
It was in Ireland, so it was on in
Mm,
a prime time
reasonable
slot.
hour. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe McGregor had a couple other ones in Ireland already by then, which I'd also seen. So yeah, that was my first real exposure to it. Just watching it on, I think it was on BT Sport, and